And we have audio, so...
Are we live now?
We're live now. To the camera. Take us away.
All right. Hello, welcome. Happy Thursday. Happy 2024. Hooray.
New year, we made it.
Somehow. All right. Welcome, everybody, to Data Viz DC, our first monthly meetup of 2024. I'll go through our kind of normal intro slides, but we've got two great presentations today, so very excited for that. We are live streaming as well, so comments will be heard by the internet, just to be aware. We do have a code of conduct here at Data Viz DC and under Data Community DC. We appreciate diversity and want everybody to feel safe and welcome. If you don't feel safe and welcome, please let any of us up here know, because we want to make sure that everyone feels included. We are your Data Viz DC organizers, so we have Will. Yay! Ening. Yay! My name's Jill. And we've been organizers. Will's been here the longest. I started helping organize during the pandemic, and Yining also started around that time as well. So very excited to bring you new content this year. If you don't know, Data Viz DC is our kind of platform within the Data Community DC to really bring together people who do data viz of all sorts. So this could be folks who use it as exploratory work in their research and analysis, could be data journalists, data scientists, BI folks, or really anyone. So super excited to bring this group together. It's a very varied group, as I'm sure you could tell by chatting with other folks while you were eating.
And could we get a quick show of hands for who this is their first Data Viz DC meetup? Welcome.
Yay, welcome. Yep. Love it. All right, and I mentioned a couple times Data Community DC. So Data Community DC is like our umbrella. So there are 13 or 14, you should know this number, organizations underneath the Data Community DC umbrella. There's a lot of really cool data stuff happening in this community. So there are meetups all the time, which we'll talk about those in a minute. One of our sponsors we wanted to mention is also Rotational Labs. So you can look up their info on their website. And of course, huge thanks to Excella, which is where we are, in case you weren't sure. Excella is a great sponsor for a lot of the Data Community DC meetups and other meetups not part of Data Community DC. We do have folks from Excella who are here, so if you want to wave and say hi, thank you to the Excella team. I do want to give a quick shout out to the Data Visualization Society. So if you haven't heard of the Data Visualization Society, or DVS is a much easier way to say that, we are the international community for data visualizers. So Data Viz DC is also an affiliate of the Data Visualization Society. We have events all over the world. A lot of them are virtual. A lot of them are local groups like this. So there's a London group and a Portland group and a Barcelona group. And it's really fun to connect with folks kind of across the world about data viz. There is a very active Slack community. There are multiple opportunities for volunteering, including committees and working on specific projects like the Outlier, which will be in Chicago this year, or the Information is Beautiful Awards. You can also submit to that if you don't want to volunteer to help with the judging and organizing. So lots of opportunities there. And if you have any questions about Data Viz Society, you can ask me. I'm the outgoing programs director of Data Viz Society, so have lots of fun information to share with you there. Okay, we also have a Data Community DC Slack channel. So if you are interested in connecting virtually in between these meetups, that's one space to do that. So I will leave this up here for a second with the QR code and make sure that you can get on our Slack. But we have a Data Viz specific channel, whatever you call that, in between the bigger channel and then the little channels. I clearly use Slack a lot. But we post our Data Viz on there as well. All right. We do have a gallery, so DC2 is another way to say Data Community DC. We have an online Data Viz gallery, so if you want to contribute to our gallery, we would love it. It's a great place for you to host your Vizes for free, so if you don't have your own website, we are happy to put it up there for you, and you can link to it. So it's a nice way to show what our community is doing. I'm happy to have additional contributions there. All right, and we have a number of upcoming events. One of them is tomorrow. It sounds like there have been a marathon of events in this room this week. I don't think there's one of those tomorrow, but tomorrow there is a virtual event about how to ace the data science job interview in 2024 at noon. So that's by ODSC DC Data Science. And then there's a couple events next week on January 18th. One of them is a generative AI and full stack data science DC event. And then the other is from the Northern Virginia Data Platform Meetup. There's also a Power BI DC meetup. I know we have some cross events with Power BI, especially here. And so their monthly event is the week after. And then we've got a couple coming up in February. Our next Data Viz DC event is about misinformation dashboards. So that should be interesting. And then there's another data science DC meetup February 13th.
Yep, I think the...
Oh, did I do
hey,
that
Banjo,
wrong?
what's going to be here next Thursday?
Now we generative AI DC.
Woo!
Sorry.
And Leslie, on the 25th, where's Power BI DC going to be?
Right
here. Yep.
Just come here. There's something going on. Sorry about the typo, all. Okay, so if you're interested in doing things like this or things in the background, such as finding speakers or helping to set up events, I know a couple of you in the room helped with Information is Beautiful up in Baltimore, or if you're interested in, reposting things that we post, we love extra volunteers. This happens on outside of work time to try to get speakers and folks to come and do this. So if you have any special interest in helping with Data Viz DC, let us know. Any of us can kind of speak to that. And even if it's just, saving a table at a happy hour, that's also very, very helpful. So all the opportunities for whatever level of involvement you'd like. Okay, so in terms of other announcements, I know that Excella has things. So Excella is hiring 3 roles.
Multiple roles, but 3 specific kinds of roles. The Power BI developer role on the website right now, there's multiple openings there, and then it's not on the website yet, but we do very soon have some data engineering and data science roles coming up. So talk to Will or I if you would like to get connected to a recruiter if you're more about that.
Yep. If you're a cool data person or a cool data viz person, you should come talk to us, potentially work with us.
Okay.
Any other jobs or cool exhibitions going on?
Are you pointing to me?
I'm behind you.
Oh.
Okay.
I wouldn't call it like going on. It's always open.
Okay.
It's
Yep.
open. Lots of different people can come whenever they like. But the Earth Information Center is a Data Viz exhibit in some sense about climate data that is open to the public at NASA headquarters on what is like C and 3rd Street.
4th and E.
4th and E. All right, there you go.
Where your work is on display.
Well, yes.
Yeah.
Specific power.
Yeah. Your both of your work. So you can go see their work at NASA headquarters, which is pretty cool.
Anybody else?
I don't want to neglect the side of the
Yeah.
either. So.
What do you all have going on?
Just had it be here.
Yeah.
First time,
Awesome.
Right on.
Yeah, love it.
Hi, I'm Andrew Conklin. I'm a past DC2 board member and current CTO at Hawk Intelligence. We're a startup in MedTech AR, and we're seeking some help with anybody who has 3JS experience, either part-time or moonlighting any capacity.
Nice. Yeah.
Hi guys, I'm Sunny. I'm new here. I'm a recent graduate with a master's degree. I'm currently a data engineering intern, but right now I'm looking for another internship or like maybe full-time position in data science. in my master and in my undergrad, I've done like a lot of like research projects involving using machine learning, particularly in deep learning. And I'm would be grateful if you can let me know of any opportunities. Thank you.
Great. Love it.
If there's nothing else, I think we will turn it over to our first speaker, who has some awesome stuff and very.
Is there a space I can put my
Yes.
laptop?
Oh, ooh, this. There you go.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Also, I think he's recording all of us. Isn't that a 360?
It is.
Maybe. Yeah.
But it's a public event.
Yeah. That's good. Let's see.
Yeah, we have 3 cameras actually. So one is the main camera and 2 backups. Awesome. Boy. Hey guys, so my name is Andre. That's me. And this is my short bio. This is the company I'm working for. And this is the main thing. That's the QR code leading to my LinkedIn profile. So if you guys want to connect, I'll bring back this slide in the end, and we'll be able to put up on LinkedIn. And today we'll be talking about visualizing data in 3D, AR, and VR. And the main question for me, and I would appreciate your feedback, is if we actually need it. Because 3D, AR, VR, it's being used in many industries. Like, for example, Will was mentioning, like it was used for mapping in real estate, right? So that's useful, we'll use it. But there are very few visualizations that use 3D, AR, and VR for visualizing actual data, not just some objects. So I want to show you a few examples of what me and my team of absolutely brilliant engineers did with some existing data, and I will leave it for you to judge if it's useful or not to bring this data into 3D. And the first example is called Common Weakness Enumeration, CWE. And in order to show you this data, first I need to explain you what this data is. So here's a crash course 1-minute intro into cybersecurity. There are about more than 200,000 types of attacks which allow hackers to attack your IT infrastructure, and those are called CVEs. And there's a lot of records in the database, if you can imagine. So it's difficult to visualize and difficult to deal with. So the company behind this catalog of CVEs, it's called MITRE Corporation, they decided to classify it, to categorize it into multiple different categories, and this categorization is called CWE, just to make it less confusing. So CWE has more than 900, well, I put it an asterisk over here, as you can see. So officially it has 934 records in the CWE database, and the asterisk has my footnote in the slides, which you cannot see, but says there are actually more than 934, because they also have some hidden objects that they do not publish on the website, but they're used for kind of organizing these CWEs. And MITRE Corporation looked for this data, and they actually visualized it. They have some awesome visualizations, and I will actually keep jumping between different devices, screens, and there will be some hiccups. I apologize for this in advance, but you know it's a complex presentation. So this is the URL of the visualizations from MITRE Corporation, and let me switch to this. Here it is. It's awesome. Let me zoom in, guys, so that you can see it.
Oh no.
So I have a challenge for you. So try finding on this visualization CWE 190 integer overflow.
Oh, second one to the left.
That's not the one. Come on, people. Where's Waldo? So we definitely see the challenge, and when I looked at this visualization, I felt like maybe adding in another dimension will help to understand the structure of this thing, which looks like a forest, right? Where's my mouse? Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like a forest, like multiple roads, lots of nodes. And I took the same data and I brought it into 3D, and it looks like this. You can actually open this more, which I should have done in advance. Yeah, and this is my visualization tool, which I'll use. It's called Courthouse Data Analytics Studio. So this is how the same data, no, not this one, that's too simple. You clearly saw a lot more on that slide, right? So here's the one. And this is what the data looks like. We're looking at something called a view. So what you saw on that page, it was not actually the whole CWE database, it was just a slice of it. And that slice is called 699. It's the software development. And this is the representation of the same data, but in 3D, where you can see structure, from my perspective, a lot clearer. And you can also see that it's not a forest. It's a mesh, or a mess. Some people say it's a mess. And besides just giving you different angle of view of the same data, it also, by the way, are you guys on that side of the room? Can you hear me?
Can you speak louder?
Yeah, okay. I'll try.
Do you want the microphone?
That would be awesome, because I actually need to keep looking in that direction, and which is why it makes it difficult for you guys to hear. And I had the same experience yesterday. I was in that half of the room, so remember. So.
Put that on.
Okay, so now I have two microphones.
Perfect.
Back up. Amazing. Can you guys hear me now? Should I make it louder?
A little closer, I think.
Should I eat it?
Too close, too close.
Okay. Even better? That's fantastic. Awesome. At any moment you are confused, please stop me and ask questions. Actually, don't wait for the Q&A. Stop me immediately. And besides just giving a better view of the same structure, it also gives you other cool features. Like, for example, you can go here and say something like overflow, and then it will search it, and it will actually highlight the nodes that have overflow, and this is the numeric errors. And sorry, I can't see on this screen. I apologize. Let me zoom in. Yeah, and here's our integer overflow, and that's our wall. It's right here. So much easier to find, right?
Is that better now?
Yeah.
So much better.
I can see the speaker.
Okay. So I feel like in this case 3D actually brought some value, and besides that view we can also quickly switch between different views. And I want to show you something I believe MITRE Corporation, the owner of this database, have never seen before. I'm going to switch to the full view, and this is the entire database. Just a small view. And they actually have multiple types of relationships, not just child of. They, for some reason, introduced multiple other types of links and then turning on all of them. Yeah, it's coming.
So
yeah.
what does the color, size, shape?
Yeah, I'll explain in a second, but I just want you to enjoy this moment, because you are some of the first people who actually can see MITRE CWE in its full glory. Because you can find it on MITRE's website. It's just too huge. We only saw a small slice, and you saw how it looked like. No Zoom can say that. And so the color coding and the shapes, there is I don't remember the full mapping, but basically I assigned different colors and different shapes to different types of nodes in this mesh. And they have things called pillars, bases. Actually, here's the full list, CWE type. So they have pillars, classes, bases, compounds, etc. And these are just different types of of records in CWE database, let's put it this way, without going further into cybersecurity. And let me switch also to this view, something simpler like, I don't know, software development is fine. And just for the dramatic effect, I want to do this thing. I'm gonna press button O. Enjoy. So one problem with this visualization in 3D though is that it's relatively difficult to zoom in. Like I need to keep doing that thing. You know, it's a good for thumb muscles, actually, which is why on most photos I'm like this. But it's annoying. It's really annoying. So me and my team were exploring other ways how you can make navigation in this visualization a little bit more convenient. And we came up with 2 additional ways. So let me switch to this one. Oh, and by the way, if you click on a node, I'm looking at my notes. You can actually see everything this node is connected to, which I believe is useful for the researchers who work with this database. It's not actually for regular people, it's for cybersecurity experts. Yeah, this will actually help them to see what is connected to what and have a better chance understanding this very complex structure. And I also have 2 other links. Let me open them. So, okay. Sorry. I'm a bit lost with my screens. Okay, I'll switch to this one. So this view, and I'll need both hands for this. And I forgot to put my markers. Like I said, there are a lot of technologies involved here, so I will keep jumping and there will be hiccups. So that's one of them. I forgot to put my marker. There are 2 ways to bring the same visualization in a space where it will be more convenient to navigate it. And one of them, I call it cheap way. It's using AR markers. And what AR marker is, it's something that looks like my business card, and I actually give this away as my business cards. But when you show this marker to the software, and as you can see, it's not an app. We're not using apps because it's 2024 and everybody is just annoyed by installing another app or something. You just go to a website, you open this web page, and you can do this on your mobile device. I'll show it in a second. And if you show it this marker, it will bring the same visualization to the screen, but in augmented reality. Actually, it will work a little bit better with a mobile device because it has a touch screen, unlike Macs. Sorry, Apple. Well, we all know about this problem, so hopefully we can see this. And I just connected my iPad, so let me show this to my iPad. And you can do the same with your phone, and it also gives you ability to navigate it using just your fingers and not just your thumb muscles. You can use more than one finger. So you can zoom in, and you can currently we're using this pointer. You see the yellow circle in the middle. So if you point it at the object, it will in vertical orientation. It will show you what this item is. Let me flip back to horizontal. And you can also navigate, like look at different angles and actually explore this structure on the screen, which is a lot more convenient than just using a trackpad or a mouse or even a 3D view. And the other way to explore the structure, we call it expensive AR. It involves one of these. You must admit it looks cool, right? So I'm going to switch to something called Oculus Custom, and this website will present what I see in my headset, and you'll see it on the screen, right?
Is that on the tablet or the computer?
No, yes, the second one. thank you for reminding me again. One connection, too many devices.
Yes, so true.
It's a bit difficult to navigate. Okay, this is the left one, and I'll need both. Can you see it on the screen?
No.
Not yet. You need to push
Okay.
the middle button, or the
You have to push the Oculus button.
Oculus button. Thank you.
It's coming. Is it coming?
No,
Not
so
yet.
Go to
Tell
cameras.
us.
Well, give it a second. It's meta. The signal needs to go
Oh.
to the satellites.
Oh, here we
It's
go.
going.
Now we can see it.
And first will I'll shorten this presentation because it has some lag, and I don't want to give you some seasickness. So to explain what's going on, I have this boundary. You can see the this kind of cage I'm in right now, right?
Yeah.
You see the cage? It's virtual. I can escape. And when I'll start running into somebody when I'm in VR, please stop me, okay? Because I can't actually see you guys, as you can see on the screen. And that's me, my best attempt to reproduce myself in virtual reality. So again, no app, and I'm just switching back to the browser.
Oh.
And okay, not this one. I'm going to switch to this one. And it's a web page which displays the same view you just saw in the, on the laptop. But if I click VR, I will land in this space, and I can explore the same data just by walking among these, rows. And because this data set is so huge, I will run into somebody while I'm walking towards that one. I can actually fly. I can fly towards that item, and then I can explore it from the inside. And if I'm curious enough to see what is this element, I can just point my super cool laser pointer, and it will tell me what it is. And then I can go from item to item, and explore my entire data structure, or go outside of this data structure and explore it from external view. And so far, I feel like it's one of the few available visualizations that present data in virtual reality, and that's not an object, that's actual data. And the data like this can be retrieved from anywhere and put into this shape and form, or other shapes and forms. And for complex structures, that's an alternative way to explore your data, which is a very different experience from what you can see on the screen of your just laptop or tablet. Okay, so back to reality. You saw the two versions, and okay, I feel like I need to stay on the timer, so I'll switch to my second example. And the second example, it's about the government data. Remember the last time you saw a cool-looking visualization of government data, right? Yeah.
Our bill is there.
I actually remember I was tasked to build cool Data Viz for HHS department, and it was really cool. It was back in 2013, and yeah, it survived 2 years, and then it went back to the standard. So for the government data, in this example, I chose NASA. I chose NASA data sets, and and also a couple other data sets, and I want to show you before and after, like how it looks now on the websites, and what I try to do with this data using using this 3D technology. Sorry, say it again.
Nothing. We're NASA
We're,
data visualizers.
we're just hoping we're not the bad example. That's
Of course you're not.
Look at the domain, it's Yostis.
Okay, all right, that's not.
You're the good guys.
And I have
No,
my own
actually,
gripes. It's fine.
the example I'm going to show you, it's not bad. It's really good, actually. I have seen worse among government websites. Okay, that was not a compliment. I don't know how to put it correctly, politically correctly. Anyway, these guys are cool. Government actually sits on a lot of super awesome data. It's beautiful. And then they take this awesome, beautiful data and give it to, I don't know whom. But you all know the results. So in this case, this specific NASA division, they have a lot of very interesting data. The data is coming from a lot of different satellites. And there is a lot of scientific work behind it. And they have this website, fairly traditional website. And it looks like this. So, not like this, just give it a second. And I took their data and I tried to, that's not me, that's your wife. What's going on?
There you go. Slowly.
What's going on?
Coming. Oh, he's not
Huh? No, actually, because I have so many devices and I need to copy data between them, I brought my own network infrastructure. It's parked down there, so yeah, it's connected to the right network. So this is the website, and it's actually really useful. It allows you to search among the data, and it looks good to me. And the data behind it, it's awesome, like I said. So in this case, I decided to visualize not the data, but the metadata associated with these data sets. And what I did is I created this dashboard, and it looks like this. And first of all, let me make it a little bit larger. Yeah, full screen. So first of all, unlike the original website, it gives you an idea about what types of data sets are more prevalent on this in this data set, and it gives you a bunch of other multidimensional views. But I want to bring your attention to this specific widget, and it shows what data sets are getting data from what satellites. And you can see this network, and if I zoom out, it kind of makes sense, but if you zoom in a little bit, you'll see that in the middle, it's really difficult to see where these lines are coming from and where they're going to. And for this reason, I added a 3D view, which looks like broccoli. Let me zoom it out. Okay, so again, this view will give you a little bit better understanding about what satellites feeding data to what data sets. And it allows you to quicker navigate among this data. You can click on a data set, see what it's connected to, and see a quick description where what is this data, when it was created, and what this is all about. And just like with the other data set, I brought it to augmented reality too. I'm not going to switch to my iPad now because I will run out of time, but I want to show you this one. I'll just use my laptop just to illustrate that you can use this technology with the laptops too. And yeah, so here's your broccoli salad. It's so much easier. I need some more light. Thank you so much, Leslie. Appreciate it. The camera needs to see the marker actually to connect to it. And I don't have my pinch zoom and drag and drop, but I can navigate this data set by just turning this marker. If I want to zoom in, I just do it like this. Zoom out, kind of tilt. It's pretty cool. So that's another way to visualize this data set, and I feel like it spices up things a little for this otherwise pretty cool website. But let me show you a different example, which is a different type of widget. I took this data visualized by NASA in this standard form, and actually combined it with another data set. And the result looks like this. So same chip marker technology. There it is. And there is a spin for dramatic effect. I just like spin. Yeah, and the columns, they show the most populated places on Earth so that you can correlate this data. And the number of data sets you can overlay on the same marker, it's actually not limited. It can be combined with any number of data sets. Example number 3. I have a question for you guys. How many of you saw my previous presentation about finding the best place to live? Okay, let's say around 20%. So yeah, I'll do a quick recap. So that I made a presentation. This one. The presentation was about using data analytics and this interface, which allows you to specify what you prefer in life. Like I would prefer to live in places where the housing is cheap. Something, I don't know. And for example, you want to see something that that's not affected by climate change, things like that. Actually, I don't know why I'm showing you this slide. I have the real thing. So it looks like this. And the presentation was about using these data sets on the US county level. So you can pick like county which matches your criteria best. And you get this heat map which allows you to select like green zones does not mean it's good or bad. It means it fits your criteria better, right? So you can say I'm looking something with a high median rent because maybe you're renting to someone, right? So here are your places. That's where you want to live. And there was another view which gave you like a wider perspective, like in what country you would love to live, what place in the world fits your criteria best. And I also presented the 3D globe, which is another way to visualize the data, and let me actually open it. So why globe, why map is not enough? That's because if you look at the map, you don't actually get the right idea about the sizes of different territories. We're all misinformed about the size of Africa, which is enormous. But it just happened that it's in the middle of the map, and for this reason, we don't really appreciate its size. So I put it on a globe, and yeah, here it is. Oh, dramatic effect. I keep forgetting. And you can also run the time lapse and see how the situation was changing over time, and select different parameters you care about. If you care about safety, that's how it looks like. And besides this visualization, I also wanted to. Sorry. Yeah. So another angle. I'm lost in Windows. Another angle at this planet, just imagine a different interface which will allow you to explore the same data, but if you are looking at this from space, right? So let me put on my headset again, and I'll show you what it looks like. And in this case, we will be looking at the expensive version of augmented reality, not the cheap one, not the one on the paper. And you guys need the Chromecast, right?
Yes.
Don't you?
Would be nice.
Which one is it? Who the hell is it? For some reason. Sorry. It's okay. This one, right? No? Oh, not Turkey, not Turkey. That's a cool name, though. Casting. So I'm gonna do my casting. So I'll let you know when you can see it. because I still cannot see what's going on the screen. Is it there? Not yet. It's coming.
Give it a minute. It's loading.
I should have not paused that window. So sorry, guys.
It turned black.
That's not what I'm seeing.
Oh.
My world is beautiful. I'm looking at the Grand Canyon. Come on.
Is that the 3?
Huh?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's a good error code. Something went wrong. Very helpful. Alright, no? Jeez, this is so awesome demo. I wanted to show you guys. Why Oculus is not that crazy. Okay, I'll just give it a moment for the gods of virtual reality to establish the connection and
Do you want to try and get that set up while Alli goes, and then maybe demo for
No,
5
that's
minutes
fine.
at the end?
I just have my final slides and I'll show them while it's trying to connect. I'll just be wearing this awkward crown. Okay.
Stylish. Yeah.
Yes, stylish. Okay. So my last example, it's about this one. It's the problem I'm currently trying to work on, and it's about the space debris problem. And the problem is that the low Earth orbit is trashed with, well, trash. the different debris from different rockets and crash satellites, and we've heard about China and Russia. I believe they tested their space weapons against their own satellites, and that created a ton of trash from the space. And all this stuff is flying at huge speeds, and it's super dangerous. And the question is, how do we visualize how we make the data visual to represent this problem? And here's one way. Pie charts, solve everything. And you can clearly see that there's a lot of debris, right? So that's one way to illustrate this problem. There is also another way. Let me show it to you. So, and it's a hook actually. I'm not going to do the full demo. I just want to show you the beginning of the demo because I'm currently talking to Will about making this a larger presentation, hopefully. But here's it's still loading the data. The internet is quite slow. It's coming. It currently only shows about 200 objects on the orbit. But if you load everything, that's another way to visualize the space debris problem, and I feel like it's a little bit better than the pie chart, right? But you still can get the pie chart. Like you can click on it and say, hey, please show me on Magic System how much actual debris, because this one shows both useful payload and the space debris, but this gray stuff flying on random orbits and distributed everywhere. That's the actual debris, and as you can see, we have tracked, currently being tracked by Space Command, more than 33,000 pieces of this trash, and they are only reporting the objects which are larger than 10 centimeters in size. And 10 centimeters, that's 4 inches. Right? Yeah, so that's a great job, but that's how much trash we have on orbit, and that's a way, which is a way better than the pie chart. And let me check the Oculus if it, come on. Okay, I'll just start my screencasting for a second. And I'll see if this will help. So stop casting. Sorry. Okay.
Turned black again.
Okay.
Maybe.
Fingers crossed. Just pick up the black screen.
I do remember the Grand Canyon looking a little better, but
It's night in Grand Canyon.
Before or after?
Okay, guys, it's not working.
All right.
Let me show this to you after the presentations. You know, when we have some spare time, hopefully I'll be able to fix this problem, and I'll show you the Earth from the space, but in augmented reality. I promised you glitches, and I kept my promise. So thank you very much, and. When you'll be asking your questions, I would also appreciate your opinion about if you feel like this technology is useful or not, and how to improve.
well,
Oh, and I actually have a cool slide for you.
a cool slide.
Cool slide. Finally.
Finally.
Do you have country of origin with the space chunk?
Yes.
Because that might be fun too.
Actually, oh, did you disconnect me already?
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
One.
I'm standing in the way.
So I actually have something else. I have the launch site.
Oh. Could we move over to Alli at this point? Yeah, cool. But that would be interesting to see that demo afterwards as well.
Yeah, sure.
I know. I'd happily stay here all night looking at this stuff. It's super cool.
Okay,
Yep.
so yeah, while I'm packing,
Yep.
you have 1 minute. You can use your phone and point at this magic marker and proceed and action yourself.
Cool.
Okay, that's your plan. That's not mine.
Awesome. Whoop.
And you should make it so people have to use the handles of the Quest to make it like they're swimming through space jump.
Swimming through space.
Swimming through space.
I only have
Yeah.
flying at the moment. But that's a cool idea.
Oh, microphone. Yes.
Grab that out of your pocket. Yep. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Very good. All right. So get you mic'd up. Cool. Put that on your shirt.
Testing, testing,
Can you play that?
testing, testing.
Move it a little higher.
Higher down.
We can also go up a little bit.
Testing, testing, testing. All right, that's pretty good.
Cool.
Am I good to go?
Good to go.
All right. Hi, everybody. Happy New Year. Am I still allowed to say Happy New Year? Yeah. I'm Alli Torban, and since it's January 2024, I want to talk about being more creative this year. And I hope that this will be your most creative year yet. And our goal is to make creativity feel like something you know how to do. Because I feel like a lot of times we feel like, oh, be more creative. It feels like it's floating in space. Like, what does that actually mean? What do I actually do to be more creative? So I hope after this talk you feel like it's like maybe something you can hold in your hand. So we're going to talk about what's creativity and then what can you actually do to be more creative. I'm Alli Torban. I'm an information designer, and I create graphics, regular charts, infographics, data comics, infographics, all sorts of things. I talk a lot about data visualization, also on my podcast, Data Viz Today. I've had it since 2018, so I guess that's 6 years now. And I also just finished writing a book called Chart Spark, all about creativity. Woo! Just came out last month. And you might be wondering, why spend a year and a half writing a book about creativity in Data Viz? And I found that once I learned some Data Viz best practices, maybe 5-6 years ago, I started the podcast to learn how to do Data Viz. After I learned some tools and started making some charts, learning some best practices, I thought, okay, well, now what? What do I do next? Like, I learned some basics. And now I want to innovate on the things that I already know how to do. I want to stand out. I would like to make more money. And I would also maybe like to be valued for my ideas, not just how well I can use Tableau or Power BI or whatever the next tool is. So what do I do? How do I get there? Should I be doing, like, learning more tools? How do I think about this? And actually, Enrico Bertini, he's the podcast host of Data Stories, and he's a university professor, he was talking a little bit about how he tries to approach this with his students like, okay, you learn the process of learning a data visualization and how to create one, and then you need to start thinking, change your thinking. Like, how do you think generatively? Like, how do you take, okay, these are kind of the basic practices, then how do you generate on that and think of new ideas? And that's something that we don't talk about as much. So I went on this journey of trying to answer this question, how do I think of creative ideas? So I read a lot of creativity books. I asked people on my podcast specifically about their creative process. And I got a lot of things like, oh, be curious. Okay. Get a routine and habits. Just relax more. Go for a walk. Go get inspired. Make sure you have constraints. Meditate. And do a lot of sketching. And these are all great. These are all great tips. But I couldn't put the pieces together. Okay, I'll go outside and be more curious. I'll sit on the couch and relax. But how does that translate into a more creative graphic? Like, how do you put those pieces together? I still was not seeing that. So I made it my business to figure out how to connect all these things. How can you be more creative? Like, what do you actually do to be more creative? And that's what I want to talk to you about today. So first, let's define creativity, because a lot of people have a lot of different definitions of it, but I've waded through a lot of them, and this is the one I like the best. Creativity is the ability to generate new ideas or remix existing ideas that are useful. Put another way, in Unlocking Creativity by Fisher-Williams, they define it as generate many variations of an idea or remix existing ideas. And then you think about, okay, is this original to me, my community, or all humans? And the thing is, it can be any of these. If it's just original to you, it's actually still creative. And then, is it meaningful and ethical? I don't think we need any more unethical creative ideas. And the thing is, we have such a high bar for what is considered creative. We think, okay, this has to change the world. I got to make the front page of the news in order for it to be creative. But you really don't have to do that. And I love this model, this 4C model of creativity by Kaufman and Bagetto. They did some research on what are the different types of creative acts that people can do. And they have mini C, little c, pro C, and big C creative acts. And mini C are those acts that are personally new and meaningful to you. So like you're learning. So you learn how to create a bar chart in Tableau. 100,000 people have done that, but that is still creative because that's something you've never done before. And then little c, that's that everyday and hobby creative acts like experimenting. So maybe you make a map and then you connect it to the bar chart and they filter at the same time. Now you're experimenting, and yeah, it could be useful to somebody else, but that is a little c creative act. And then pro C is the professional and meaningful to others. That's typically what we're doing at work all day. Like, you create a dashboard of different charts that maybe haven't been put together before, and it saves the company time and money. That's creative too. And then we have big C, which I think is kind of what in our mind we have, like, oh, I want to be more creative, create creative infographics. You think, okay, I'm trying to get to the big C. And that's the genius history making. And that's very rare. And researchers don't even really know how to get to big C. And a lot of it actually has to do with luck. So I say, just forget about big C. We're not even going there. We're not talking about that. And the nice part about these little creative acts is they all build on each other. So as you can see with Andre's work, like, he's experimenting with little things and he's asking, is this useful? Because that's part of the creative process. He's doing all these little things, presenting it to people, sharing, seeding his idea, and then these things build on each other. So creativity is an act, lots of different acts. So what are the actions that you can actually do? Okay, so I was talking about connecting the dots, and some of the dots that I connected, I realized that when you approach a project, generally we're going in this creativity flow. First you're ideating, and then you move to resting, and then you have to execute your idea, push it forward a little bit, and then you rest again and ideate. So at the beginning, we're very positive and open. We're collecting inspiration. And then you rest, maybe you refill your tank, you get feedback from other people. And then you execute. You have to push your idea forward at some point. You can't just be thinking about it. And you'll inevitably hit some sort of snag, like something's not working. And you go ahead and you can loop back around and you can rest, refill your tank, and then ideate again. And it just keeps going back and forth as you're working on your project. So I want to share today a prompt for gathering inspiration and a prompt to generate ideas. And I think that we think about inspiration in a really narrow way. We generally think, okay, I want to get inspired, so you look at other graphics. But I actually think there's 3 different types of inspiration. So the first one is practical inspiration, like seeing a data visualization that solves a really cool problem. Hey, I can use that for my work. I call that practical inspiration. And then internal inspiration, that comes when you're resting or doing something else. So like you are working on your problem and then you go for a walk and then your brain makes those connections and all of a sudden, oh, I got that idea. So you get that spark by resting. That's a type of inspiration too. And then we have energy inspiration. And I think that comes from external sources, not in our field. That gives you that spark of energy because someone has a really big passion for their craft. And it can either inspire your work or give you an idea for something you're doing, or you can just kind of like borrow that energy that they have for their work, and then you can apply it to your work. So practical internal energy, I think we need to get all of these to have a really balanced inspiration diet. So I want you to think for a second, like, do you lean on one type of inspiration more than another? Is there a way that you could increase maybe your resting time? Like for me, I know that if I have a lot of creative work to do, I make sure to take a lot of time to also go on walks because I know that resting is also a form of inspiration. So think about how you can balance it out. So gather all 3 types of inspiration. And this is one of my favorite quotes. Immature creative pros wait for inspiration. Mature creative pros chase it down. So you really have to think about how am I going to go find these types of inspiration. And specifically for practical inspiration, I actively pursue it, but I just don't gather it. I analyze it. And I do that with the X-ray prompt. So whenever you see an effective or interesting graphic, just don't bookmark it and be like, oh, cool, okay, then it collects dust. I like to analyze it. So X, excited. What specifically got me excited about this graphic? Rules. How are they following data visualization best practices? A is for anarchy. How do they throw out the rules? You don't have to agree with how they did it, but just taking note of what they did. And then U. How might you use this in your own work? What are some conditions in which this would be useful? And by actually writing this down and thinking about it, it actually helps you remember in the future. Oh yeah, I remember this one thing I saw and they solved it this way and they threw out the rules in that way and I felt like it really worked, so I'm going to use that in my project. And I actually write these down in a spreadsheet so I can just search through it. So like if I had a keyword at some point, I can find it. Okay, so let's x-ray this graphic, used with permission by my friend Gabrielle Marit. She's an information designer in LA. And she just has a knack for really throwing out the rules. So I love her work. This is such a beautiful graphic. It's about the percentage of online dating users who say these profile information are very important. So we have profile picture, type of relationship, children, so on. And this is a super beautiful eye-catching graphic, right? So let's x-ray it. So what got me excited? Well, overall, I really love this feeling of calm. It just felt really happy and joyful to me. The transparency in the bars and 3D icons, it just really draws me to this graphic. How's it following database best practices? Well, I really appreciated, really nice grid lines, the y-axis, 0, 20, 40, doing the right things. And then she directly labels the bar at the top with the percentage, all very nice and clean choices. Anarchy, definitely the 3D for no reason. Excuse me. Transparent bars, like I don't know if I've ever seen that. And then overall this depth effect she has. If you really look at it, we have this person in the front and then there's that shadow, so it really gives a 3D effect. There's like surfing on this phone. And then she actually took this, there's a sand background image, but she took one of the sand dunes and put it in front of the bar chart. So then you have the bars that are 3D, and then you have the background. So there are so many layers to this. It really gives this beautiful 3D effect. And if I wanted to use any of these things in the future, it would be if I wanted to set a mood, maybe evoke some sort of feeling or emotion, or grab someone's attention, because this graphic really grabbed my attention. So this is how I would x-ray a graphic. I would put this in a spreadsheet, and then maybe I was Control F, like, oh, I want to grab attention, and then it would grab me to this, bring me to this graphic, and I'd be like, oh, maybe I could try some sort of transparency if it was appropriate. So this is a really useful technique. Like I said, compile a spreadsheet, and you can search through it, and it helps you remember the inspiration that you found too. Okay, so we talked about a prompt for gathering inspiration. Let's talk about a prompt to help you generate ideas. Melanie Dietzel says, you're not blocked, you're using the wrong prompt. Okay, so my favorite prompt, I call it the CTR prompt, and it's an exercise that helps you find a meaningful angle for your data story. So again, remember, we're not looking to be big C creative people, right? We're just trying to do little creative acts. And that's why I like the CTR prompt, because data is meaningless on its own. We as humans decide what's meaningful. So interviewing data journalists, I have found that they are looking for 3 big things. You want to avoid the obvious, focus on timeliness, and share ways for people to go further. So based on that, I created the CTR prompt. So I take an observation that I found in my data set. So maybe there's an outlier, a pattern, or a relationship. It's okay if it's obvious at this point. And I want to ask myself 3 questions. First one is conflict. If this observation is true, then what's the consequence and who will be affected? Timely. Why is this important now? If it's not important now, what can I compare it to that maybe is important now? And resolution. What could help? What actions can we take? Where do we find more information? So let's apply this to an example. So in 2017, Makeover Monday came out with a data set about avocados. It's like, oh, cool, I want to participate. Like, I'll make a line chart. And nothing wrong with this line chart. You can see avocado prices. We have organic and conventional. And I was going to share it, and I was thinking, okay, yeah, organic is more expensive than conventional. Everybody knows this. There's nothing to this. So people are going to forget this as soon as they see it. So how can I be a little bit more creative and alter this just a little bit? Like, we're not trying to go crazy. Like, how can we just tweak it a little bit? So let's answer our questions. Organic avocados are more expensive. Conflict is, well, if they are more expensive, then some people won't be able to afford organic avocados, so they'll opt for conventional to save money. Why it's important now? Well, there may be a time where organic prices come really close to conventional, which would be a really good opportunity to make some guacamole or something if you can't normally afford organic avocados. Resolution, what can help? Well, I found in that data set, you might have noticed that in 2017, March or April it was, conventional came closest to it had been in a few years to organic. And so I could show, hey, this is actually a great time to grab those avocados and make guacamole with your organic avocados. So I tweaked this chart a little bit, and I used a dumbbell chart since actually I wanted people to focus on the difference between the prices. And I said, make that guac now. Organic avocado is only 24 cents more expensive. And it's such a small, same data set, small tweak. I just tried to take it and look at it from a slightly different angle. I took what I would normally do, the line chart, and tried to do something slightly different and more useful. That's creative. This isn't a huge thing. Like, nobody is, applying this to the Information is Beautiful Awards, right? But it's more creative. And and I ended up using a different chart type than I normally would because I was trying to show something slightly different. So use the CTR prompt when you need to find a meaningful data angle in your data story. You don't need to wait around for a creative idea. You can go and pursue it. You can collect your inspiration very actively, and you can create prompts for yourself, use prompts that will help you find a more creative idea. And you might be wondering, okay, well, I create dashboards, when is a good time to be creative? I don't really ever see one. And I like to think about, through my experience in a lot of trial and error and failures, to be frank, I have found that there are 4 questions that I ask that kind of guide me into thinking, okay, yeah, maybe this is a time where I can be more creative, I can push the envelope, or maybe if it's a time where I should just go with what works. So the first one is, how much time does the reader of the graphic have? How much time and patience? Because if they don't have a lot of time and patience, then you probably just need to be giving them what they're expecting. And like if you're looking through the newspaper to find what the temperature is going to be that day, or like how the temperature is going to be changing throughout the day, you don't want some amazing graphic that shows you the emotion of the weather. It's like, no, just give me the information, please. So if it's a little bit, stick with what works. If they have a lot of time and patience, maybe you have a little bit more leeway to try something more novel. How much do I need to capture attention? If like the graphic from Gabby, this was in a magazine, so they wanted to grab attention. So she did need to try to experiment a little bit rather than just doing a simple bar chart. So if they are very attentive, maybe you don't need to be trying to grab their attention, but it could also mean they're attentive, like they're reading something in a magazine, and that doesn't necessarily mean you don't need to be creative. So this is why we do this, answer the 4 questions, because you average it at the end, but just need to be thinking about, do you need to capture your reader's attention? And then, have there been any struggles conveying this in the past? If people are just getting it, keep letting them get it. There's no reason to reinvent the wheel. And then, how much time do I, as the designer, have? If I don't have a lot of time, like someone needs a graphic tomorrow, do I have enough time to be trying something new and testing it, making sure it works? Probably not. So I just kind of need to go with what works at that point. So I like to rate these 4 questions on this scale and kind of average it out. And then it's not completely mathematical, but it does give me a sense, okay, this is a time that I have time to experiment, this is a good situation, or maybe this is what, I should just stick with what's been done before. And I've also found that asking these questions of my clients is really helpful, or you can talk through it with your manager, being that really helps them get buy-in for you to take extra time to experiment with things. Okay, yes, I think this is a good time that we can try something new. Or no, this doesn't seem like it's a good time to try something new. Okay, so in summary, when you're working on a project, follow this creativity flow. This is something that you can do as you're working on your project. Make sure you're taking time for each of these things. How am I ideating? What am I doing to ideate? How am I gathering inspiration? What are the prompts that I'm using to generate ideas? How am I resting? When am I resting? And when am I going to actually execute? Don't forget to execute. You have to put your ideas, move your ideas forward, or otherwise you're not going to know what the next problem is to work on. Make sure you're getting a balanced inspiration diet, the practical, the internal, the energy, and then for practical inspiration, go ahead and X-ray your graphics and start creating your spreadsheet so that you can remember the amazing graphics that you've seen and actually use that inspiration in your own work. And then you can use prompts to help you ideate, like the CTR prompt. Take your observation, think about the conflict, the timeliness, and any possible resolutions. And I'd like to give you a challenge today. Tomorrow, over the weekend, I feel like the newspapers over the weekend are really great for graphics, but go buy a newspaper and cut out all the graphics that you see and X-ray them. And then you can start with this folder of probably 10, 15 graphics that you have X-rayed and that you can start the new year with inspiration. And if you like these prompts, I have my book has lots of prompts in it, and it's available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, independent bookstores, and it's available paperback, ebook, and actually today just came out an audiobook. So if you like audiobooks, it's available there too. So I hope you feel like creativity is something you can go ahead and start doing today, and I hope you go make this your most creative year yet. Thank you.
Do you advise using R data is beautiful for challenge?
I'm sorry, for what?
For the challenge?
Oh yeah, to grab graphics off of there to X-ray.
On the data is beautiful subreddit.
Yeah, that would be a great place. You can just scroll and X-ray, and also the Information is Beautiful awards. Their showcases would be a great place to start too. Yeah, it's great. Any other questions or yeah?
Is your audiobook somebody describing the visualizations?
Yeah, that's a very good question, but I have a book here and you can look through it. There's actually not a lot of visualizations, which I know sounds weird, but I didn't want this to be like a book where you're like, oh, I'm just going to be inspired by looking at other people's visualizations. I want this to be like, things that you can do and how you can integrate this into your work. So there's actually not a lot of visualizations, and I think I described maybe 3 or 4 of them. So yeah, I described them, but I really tried to write the book where you didn't need to see the visuals. Anything else?
That said, the book is full of those sort of cool doodles. So my question is, I will just say, that copy of the book over there, that's mine. I got it. I read it. I really enjoyed it. How did you make the doodles? What the illustrations?
That's in Procreate. So it's an app for the iPad, a drawing app. And it's nice because it's not a subscription. You just buy it, and it's, there's so many brushes that you can use. It's a pretty low learning curve to learn how to use Procreate, so I highly recommend it. It's for the iPad and also on the phone. If you have an iPhone, you can use it. Yeah.
Have you tried, using tools like ChatGPT to put your ideas down and help you ideate?
Yes, 100%. Yes, that's great. Yeah, it's if you're kind of stuck with the CTR prompt, for example, what could make this, what is the conflict here? I don't really know. It's great to just put those questions in, describe your concept or your data, and then say, what's the conflict here? And then you can just use that as a jumping off point. As you guys know, a lot of what ChatGPT would give you is maybe not so usable, but it does help you get going using it. So I would highly recommend using it to help ideate. Yeah.
So I feel like in other creative fields like visual art or music, there's such a long history of rules and theory, and then these people coming along and breaking the theory and doing really creative things. I feel like in Data Viz we're sometimes just endlessly arguing about pie charts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you think it just speaks for a younger field that we're still learning the theory before we can break it? Or
yeah, and I think that for a lot of the things it's conflicting, right? Like pie charts, I understand why they say they're not so good, and then people abuse them too, right? But then also people just like circles. So I mean, you can't deny it. You just can't. So I agree. It is because we're our young field, and then there's some research and it's getting better. But then also some of the research is conflicting, and some of the research is good for researchers, but maybe not so good for someone making a graphic in a magazine, right? They say don't use 3D, and then Gabby uses 3D, and it's amazing. So yeah, I agree with you. Oh, yeah.
Do you have any rules of thumb for kind of more minimal and more fancy, for lack of better words?
Yeah.
And I'll add, this is directly coming from, I think it was your podcast that recommended Tuffy's book, and it talked a lot about minimizing the ink on the page,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to say thanks for putting it to the podcast.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I would recommend, this is still recorded, right? No. Yeah, minimalist, it always comes down to the audience and what they need or what you want to convey to them. In the book I have the questionnaire that I run through with my clients, like talking about art direction and the needs of their audience. Like, what do you want them to know? What do you want them to do? What do you want them to feel? Like, there's so many questions I think you need to be working with your client to figure out if you should go minimalist or you should go maximalist. Jen Christensen, she's the senior graphics editor at Scientific American. She wrote another great book called Building Science Graphics. And she talks about this concept of a welcoming gesture. So like in Scientific American, there's a lot of science where they don't know what these certain molecules look like, right? But she art directs these graphics where they're adding like fanciful details, they're doing a lot of storytelling and colors. Like it might be the color blue, but they don't really know if it's the color blue or not, but they just want to draw people in to this graphic. And on the podcast episode I did with her, she was like, well, I wouldn't want my doctor to be putting like welcoming gestures in my blood work, but you know, in a science magazine, you know, maybe it would draw somebody into this topic that maybe they normally wouldn't want to read about. So I always come back to the audience and what do they need.
So you talked a lot about ways to inspire creativity. So are there any techniques that you developed to turn off your creative brain? Because sometimes you just have to do writing or things like that, and then it's just like creative ideas keep flowing and you can't focus. So what's your techniques for dealing with that?
Yeah, that is a really great question, and it is really frustrating sometimes to be feeling like that, either in both directions, right? Like, oh, I really want to work on this thing, but I can't. Or in the other way, like, I got to work on this thing, and I just feel so depleted. And I like to think about how, you know, we had that creativity flow, but then it's also like part of a larger flow of your life. Like, sometimes you're in what Austin Kleon says is like a creative winter, or you're in a creative spring, and everything is amazing. And you just have to deal with it. Like, you know, they say like plumber doesn't get plumber's block. Like writers get writer's block, right? Like plumbers don't get plumber's block. They're just like, you have to solve the problem. So you kind of have to approach it like work. Like, yes, I am in a creative winter and I am gonna have to take a lot of breaks because I'm just not feeling inspired. But you do have to continue to do the work. And on the other side, what you were talking about, which was like really feeling inspired and wanting to work on something, but you can't. As much as I can, I try to notice the energy when I have it and try to do as much of it as I can. So like in a day, like I have certain tasks and I'm really itching to work on this one thing, but like I also have to get this other thing. So, you know, I'll make deals with myself like, okay, 20 minutes on this task and then I can spend an hour doing the fun thing. Like just you kind of have to just negotiate with yourself. That's really the only tip I have on that one.
Yeah, sometimes work for me, like just take a break for 5 minutes and write down the plan or like some bullet points, like one note or some, you know, sticky note or something. Sometimes it helps.
Yeah, pushing the idea forward a little bit. It's like maybe I can scratch that itch a little bit if maybe I just do a little. It's better than not having any energy, though, I think.
So you mentioned about it. So you mentioned when it comes to like, trying to get inspirations by like say going out for a walk or like going to museums or galleries, like so like what kind of mindset do you have to bring to like by that? I mean, like do you just like are you just like looking around, or like do you have to like make yourself focus on some particular detail maybe when you're visiting a gallery to try to get yourself into your thinking gear?
Yeah, I really try to, if I'm resting, I really just try to rest. Like if I'm going for a walk, like I really love listening to podcasts, but I just force myself to not listen to podcasts and just let my brain, you know, like squeezing out the sponge, right? Like you just have too much stuff in there. You just have to squeeze out the sponge and really rest. So I try not to have like a plan of action when I'm doing the resting things. Or if I'm going to an art gallery, like I said, like really just appreciating the craftsmanship. And instead of being like, oh, what did they do to do this mood and like analyzing it and do the whole X-ray thing. You can, if maybe you're inspired to do that. But I really just am either resting and try to rest, or I'm just trying to grab their energy from it. So that's my approach. Not saying that's the approach, but that's how I approach it.
So you could be like more passive when it comes to
Yeah, I think so.
Passive. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to call out, like, just in line with what you're saying. If you've ever heard of Marush Samarodi, she has a TED Talk called How Boredom Can Bring You Your Most Creative Ideas. Yeah, I will post the link in the event today. It goes into the neuroscience behind why having periods of your life where you are not taking in content, so not listening to music, not listening to an audiobook or anything like that, brings your brain into what's called default mode, and that's where we have our most like creative leaps. And there's real neuroscience behind it. It's completely in line with what you're saying.
Yeah, it's hard not to do it. It's hard not to just be constantly putting input in, but
it is scientific.
It helps.
What you were saying, that's how we get to those creative leaps, and lots of good stuff out there on how to do that.
Yes.
I remember, and thank you for the point that plumbers don't get plumber's block. As that kind of led me to think about the idea of an occasional shock as to sort of stimulate creativity.
Yeah.
When the toilet is overflowing, your brain engages.
Yeah, I gotta solve this real quick.
That I wasn't even thinking about, 30 seconds ago.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. It's kind of occasionally exposing yourself to something that's kind of a shock.
Yeah.
And that can be a different kind of art, or it can be going to a different place and engaging or something. It doesn't need to be dramatic. But
Yeah.
I think sometimes just a shock is something that can, reset you, so to speak.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's a good point. Trying to find novelty, I've heard that also, to kind of, if you're trying to find new ideas, like try to just do something different, like drive home a different way, or walk home a slightly different way, walk a different route, just so it's like slightly different than you normally do.
I want to add a comment.
Yeah.
So I don't think actively seeking for inspirations is a good idea, but things inspire me, like those slides, and also like the 3D visualization. We can include the beautiful graphics in the 3D place. And it's like a remix, a creativity.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Great. Well, thank you, everybody. I really appreciate you coming.
Well, thank you so much. That was a ton of fun, and I think that is a pretty good note for everyone to go and make this year their most creative year yet. So, yeah. So I'm going to go ahead and shut down the live stream. Hopefully everyone who attended virtually enjoyed it. So, yeah.